afternoon, and happy good evening to all of my many friends, also to my many enemies. Whenever you happen to be watching this episode of Roosevelt Sounds Off, you are truly welcomed. Thank you, everybody, for rating, comment, and subscribing, and continue to tell others about Roosevelt Sounds Off. Is greatly much appreciated from me to you. I'm doing this particular video on the very late evening of Thursday of June 28th. It's almost midnight here in the city of Chicago, and I'm doing this tonight. Many of y'all probably will see this on Friday, June 29th, 2018. But tonight, by it being June, or we're just beginning to wrap up June, I want to come to you this evening with a certain topic that I've been wanting to talk about for weeks, but just wondering, should I do it or should I not? Now, many of you all know that we are in the month of June. We're about to wrap up the month of June, and we're about to head into the holiday weekend. You know, it's Independence Day, 4th of July is next weekend, and it promises to be a very hot day, a scorcher here in the city of Chicago on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I hope, for the holidays, everybody's staying good and staying cool. But meanwhile, since we are wrapping up June, it is many celebrations that take place in the month of June. Many people some of you all who have graduated from, elementary school, high school, college, are graduating in the month of June or late May. There has been many proms and everything to take place also in the month of June. And also many people love to get married in the month of June. And we've celebrated many different things here in Chicago. We've celebrated the beginning of our festival weekend. We've had the Gospel Fest and the Blues Fest, and we've even celebrated Puerto Rican Independence Month. Happy Puerto Rican Independence to all of my Puerto Rican viewers. That's a celebration I really love to take part in here in the city of Chicago. It's very wonderful, and it always promises a whole lot of great fun and great food up on the northwest side of Chicago. But there is another thing that is celebrated during the month of June, and that is thanks to our former president, Barack Hussein Obama, who instituted June as being LGBT Pride Month. In case you don't know what LGBT means, that stands for lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender, and they've even added on a Q. I think Q means questioning or queer. I'm not really too sure. So tonight, I'm going to teach or, talk about a little something. I'm pretty sure many of y'all don't mind if I just sit and talk to you for a second. And the subject of this particular video is called It's a Choice. This will be the first time that I have ever spoken on some of my feelings about the LGBT community. And on tonight, I'm videotaping with my old camera, my Sony Handycam, which I started out Roosevelt Sounds Off with about 5 years ago. But as years went on, I moved up to doing other things, many of y'all have seen me even in HD now. But tonight, since this video camera promises that, I can just hit record and I won't be cut off or anything because it's different than recording with the Nikon or the Canon, which is a DSLR camera, which, only gives you a recording time of 20 minutes. And then after 20 minutes, you have to go and cut the camera back on again. But, this could promise to be a long video, maybe. Depend on what it is I have to say about this subject. So I hope that everybody will just watch and listen, just truly listen with a very open mind, because I intend to deal with the subject of LGBT Pride Month and also be somewhat transparent, even when it comes down to my life, also as well. Because many of y'all who know me, I always say that I could sit and I could talk about other things and other people all day long, but at the end of the day, I always want to be responsible for talking about myself. I like to always start with myself also as well. So like I said, the name of this video is called "It's a Choice." Now, the reason why I chose to come up with this particular video topic is because I was listening about a month ago to another YouTuber's video. Matter of fact, it's another YouTuber that I am subscribed to, named Evangelist KL Rich. And she's an evangelist on YouTube, and she has two YouTube platforms. Some of you all probably need to go and check her out because her stuff is pretty good. She does one particular video series on more like religion and the stuff that's going on in teachings of the Bible. It's like a Bible study, and it's called "It Is Finished." And she broadcasts that every Sunday morning and every Wednesday. And she does another one called "Narc Abuse No More." And the motto for that is admitting what you feel in order for you to heal. And she does that every Monday and Friday. So I suggest you all go and check that out, because I think that she has some great wisdom and some great nuggets in there, on both platforms for you to, kind of receive something from, and, learn something more for when it comes to the Bible, and even more about narcissistic abuse and, parent relationships, and through romantic relationships, and even narcissistic abuse that even takes place within the church. So she's pretty good. But anyway, one of her videos that she was doing was called "Born This Way." And she was talking about the LGBT community, and she opened it up with talking about a story that came out recently of a man, I guess, who was gay, and he talked to the Pope, which many of y'all know who the Pope is. It is Pope Francis the First, also known by as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, who is Pope. And the Pope was telling him that he shouldn't feel uncomfortable about his homosexuality because he was born this way. But quite frankly, I really don't believe a religious leader like the Pope or any minister or any clergy needs to encourage this kind of lifestyle, because no, I really believe that you are not born that way. Now, before I go any further, I need to put a disclaimer out here also too. This is not to talk down upon my lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender viewers, because I need to say that I absolutely, positively love all of you all, and love all of you all with a strong binding love, and even love you in the name of Jesus Christ. But, this truth has to be told. If somebody has to stand up and tell it, okay? But I love everybody, not against anybody. Don't believe that anybody should be victimized. I don't believe that anybody even should be fired from a job because of their sexual preference either. But, the truth has to be told, and I'm here to do it tonight, which is, going to be kind of hard because it has to be done. And this is going to be a hard video to do, but I have got to get through it. So just, work along with me. If you work along with me, I promise you, at the end of it, hopefully you will get it. You will understand. Okay. But, like I was saying, that the Pope was telling the guy he was born this way. And I really don't believe that anyone is born that way. Because it does say in scriptures that people went along with doing this thing out of their own lust. And I even saw another video that another minister did about homosexuality. And basically, he called it lust that has gone completely unchecked. And it even says in the Bible that if you keep doing certain things, that Jesus, God, will turn you, he said that he turned people over to a reprobating mind so that they will do things that is not unseemly, that's not convenient. So, no, after a while, after you keep going and doing certain things, experimenting with certain things, God will turn you over to that thing, turn you over to a reprobating mind, and then you can't change. So, I don't think that anybody's born that way. I believe it's a little bit more of a choice more than it is anything. Now, I'm going to look on the other side, and this is what I'm going to talk about me somewhat. Now, I do believe that sometimes, there are extenuating circumstances. Like, there's been many people, in the gay community, people who are lesbian, who've also been taken advantage of. Some of you all have been molested. Just like I'm going to talk about myself, that I was taken advantage and molested when I was 5. And the thing is with me, it happened like with several different people over the course of my childhood. The first time that I can remember is when I was about 5 years old. I was in kindergarten, and for some reason, I had a kindergarten teacher named Miss Sprung. And Miss Sprung, she's a white teacher, very nice. And she wouldn't ever trust me, I guess, to go to the bathroom all by myself. So she always would send me to the bathroom with an older boy named Michael. And this older boy, a couple of times when he got me in the bathroom, I didn't know what I was doing or anything like that because, I wasn't taught anything about sex. I didn't know anything about sex or anything. The older boy made me perform oral sex or something, on him. And I believe, even though I think that my mind blocked a whole lot of this kind of stuff out, I even had an aunt who, is kind of disowned by me and the rest of my family, because at the time, for many of y'all who don't know, I was born in 73, but I have a younger brother who was born in 1977. And around that time, I guess because my mother was working, my mother was has a teaching degree first of all, and also my mother was working for the Department of Public Aid, and my father was working for a company called Berkey. Berkey was a company that basically developed film. So my father was known as a film stripper. He actually worked in a darkroom developing pictures. And so, I guess they didn't have, I don't know what it was, that they didn't have time to really look after me. So they sent me to live with my grandmother on the west side of Chicago. And I stayed with my grandmother a couple of years, I think from like 77 all the way like through 80. And my aunt, I had an aunt who was also staying there too, my Aunt Mary. And for some reason, my Aunt Mary, anytime I would do something wrong or whatever, my Aunt Mary would always get joy out of whooping me. And the thing is, whenever she whooped me, she would always like to take off her clothes. And she would always call me in the bathroom with her whenever she had her panties down and, all of that kind of stuff. So quite frankly, when all of this stuff was happening, my grandmother, now maybe I forgot a whole lot of it, but my mother a few years ago reminded me and told me about some of this stuff that happened, certain things I psychologically or whatever, blocked out. And she told me what happened to me. And she told me that my grandmother was giving me a bath and saw something wrong with my private areas. And she had I guess called the school and everything, and there was a principal there. The principal's name Miss Woolfolk. And matter of fact, Miss Woolfolk was also a member of the church that we were going to at the time. And my mother spoke with her and everything to try to see what was going on. And what happened was, in the end, because I guess I had forgotten why my mother had pulled me or taken me from my grandmother's house and brought me back to my house on the southeast side. That's because my mother actually, I think my mother was a great woman for having done it. Um, my mother told me a couple of years ago that when she found out I was being taken advantage of like that, that she had, she worked for public aid, and I guess she talked to my father, and what they did was, to try to bring me back so my mother could be home with us, the kids. You know, they did a little. My mother and father, they did a little bit of a test. They lived for like a month or two on just my father's salary alone. So when they found out that they could live only on my father's salary alone, my mother quit her public aid job just so I could come back and be at home with her. I had forgotten about all of that. I don't know if I just like mentally blocked it out or whatever it was, but that's what happened. So, you know, when my mother reminded me of that and told me, I mean, I was happy and loved my mother even the more for having, done that. And, trying to put the kids and put the family first, like it should be. Okay. And so I guess my father's salary was enough for us to live off of. So, we had still had a nice home and everything, was still able to live and all of that. So, we were good. I mean, but in the process of all of this, it also happened to me again in fifth grade with two boys who took advantage of me. I mean, mind you, I didn't know anything that I was doing was wrong or anything like that because I was never told or never taught anything about sex or sexual activity or anything like that. Um, but I kind of grew up and everything, with this kind of stuff happening, with sort of a complex of not feeling right, and plus it didn't help either that I was visually impaired and being picked on by children and even being picked on by teachers, especially like a certain particular one that sticks out amongst all the rest, named Mr. Smith, who teased me and made fun of me just as much as like the other kids did. So you could see how this kind of stuff, would mess people up. And not to mention that because of what happened with my aunt, I kind of grew up with something when I was a little kid having, these crazy, odd and sexual fantasies about my aunt. Because it's just crazy. So I mean, that's just me being transparent. And it didn't help that also too when I got in high school and just like now, I mean, I'm 44 years old, and I can safely say, I mean, I don't think I've ever, except like maybe once or twice, had like a good, solid, strong, loving, romantic relationship with a woman. I mean, it seems like every single woman that, I really, really liked and really wanted to be with, it was always like something in the way. It happened with the first person I ever fell in love with. Her name was Nicole, and me and Nicole couldn't be together because she lived in St. Louis and everything. I mean, even though I was willing to go to St. Louis and move to St. Louis just to be with her, I guess that maybe she didn't want the same thing or however it went. I mean, so because of what happened to me, especially what happened to me with boys and everything, I grew up having some of those feelings. Feeling like, I wanted to turn and go that way. But I didn't want to go that way because, my parents also raised me on the Bible. And I was always raised to believe that that kind of lifestyle was wrong and you aren't supposed to go in, to do anything like that. I was always raised that it was sin. And I never wanted to, dive into that. So I guess that all my life I've been fighting it, still fighting it, and still praying, for complete deliverance in my mind and in my thoughts and all of that. But I didn't want to go into it. Why? Because I realized that at 44, no matter what I have gone through, no matter what has happened to me, even though all of this craziness has taken place in my life like that when I was younger, I realized after all of that that it's a choice. Every single day I make a choice whether I am going to pray, whether I am going to stand up and walk in my deliverance or not. I make a choice whether to date a woman or do I want to go out with a man. I make a choice because, as many people, and they always try to do this research and everything, that says that if you've ever been molested, then, chances are that you are going to molest when you get older yourself. I don't have any desire to molest a child. Why? Because despite of what happened to me, I have consciously made a choice that I am not going to ruin the next generation of not only my children, but I'm talking about anybody's child. I am not going to ruin the minds of anybody's child, all because I was abused, because I know exactly what I struggle with and what I deal with now, and I would never ever want to put that on anyone else. It's a choice. I mean, even in the Bible, it says that we have choices. God said, Jesus said, today I put before you the choices of life and death. But he said, choose life. I choose to live. Despite what happened to me, it's a choice. I choose every single day to walk in my deliverance. I choose to tell myself that I am better today than what happened to me yesterday. Even though I admit, sometimes it's hard because, it's hard even to find a good woman these days. Because I admit by, seeing what's out there now, it seemed like over the last few years I have to struggle harder with these kind of feelings because it's like I hardly don't see anything in any good women because a whole lot of women, I'm going to have to say, I don't want to generalize, I'm going to have to say some or maybe most, but definitely not all, are unsupportive, are selfish, money hungry. I mean, a whole lot of them and everything, they don't want to be completely who they, especially black women, don't want to be who they are and who God made them. A whole lot of you all want to wear all of this crazy kind of makeup and wear all of this different colored, stupid, weave, smelly, stinky wigs and weaves and everything in your hair. It seems like the majority of women these days absolutely positively disgust me. I mean, it's hardly nothing out here. They're just unsupportive. They want things their own way. They want to look at things and look at men for their own agenda. They actually lie on men. Like I got a cousin of mine who has recently had a brush with the criminal justice system because some girl in Michigan lied on him and said that he did something that I know for a fact in my heart that he didn't do. Even though I wasn't there, I have a hunch that he didn't do it. He was just lied on by a woman, and because of that, his life is completely ruined. A whole lot of you women, lie and everything about, when you get pregnant by somebody, knowing good and well that you might have slept with some 2 or 3 other people. You want to pin a child just because you get knocked up on one person and you have that person on the hook for child support and, for then on this man is stuck going to court and then possibly going to jail and, oh boy, sometimes I swear it's just too much. So because of all of this stuff has made me almost like stray away from, a whole lot of women. And I'm just praying, I guess, for the right one or the special one. And many of you all know about this case that just happened in New York about, the boy who was killed by the gang because, they said that he released a sex tape of him having sex on video with one of the gang members' cousins, but when they came across this one kid, he looked like somebody who was on this tape, but it wasn't him, and they ended up like using a machete and hacking this boy to death, and it's a mess. But yet it's all a choice. And I don't ever want people and members of the LGBT community to think that I'm just coming down hard upon them. Because we can also tie this in with other things that people have done or are doing that are a choice. Case in point, for many of y'all who have been watching me for years or maybe even some months now, I talked earlier this year in February, matter of fact, it was my Valentine's Day special, about a guy who is engaged to a good friend of mine. Matter of fact, she is my godson's mother. And like I said, that she has been with dude for like 5-6 years and, been living with him for that long. But I told you how this guy, drinks and how he carries on and how he talks down upon people, how he just feels like he can just say and do anything disrespectfully that his mind would just tell him to do. And I even said in the video that the next time that he said something crazy to me out of his mouth, I was going to knock him out. In the end of something, it was going to be about this. It was going to be about this black fist. That's what it was going to be about. Because, he has, said crazy stuff to her. He's even been abusive towards her. And maybe, just maybe, looking at it from her side, that if she wants to be in a relationship like that or marry somebody like that, hey, we're in America. It's a free country. You have the right to be with and marry anybody who you want to. So, therefore, he might abuse her like that. But I'm not the one who's sleeping with him. No, he's not screwing me. Not at all. I don't go that way. Don't want to go that way. And even if I did, he certainly wouldn't be the right one. But, that's who she chooses to be with. So she has the right to go and put up with, whatever abuse or whatever it is that, he wants to put out. I never have to put up with it. And I'm not going to put up with it. So, long story short, he ends up watching this video and seeing this video, what I said. So he confronts me, even though I did not give his name in this video. He confronts me at their church and says, this is how he talks. And remember, I told you, even in the first video when I talked about him, how he comes to church drunk. He was drunk again. Confronts me. Nigga, you got something to say to me? I'm like, what did you say? I said, do you got something to say to me? I'm like, no, I don't have anything to say to you. He's like, okay, fine then. Because I'm about to stomp the shit out your ass. And so he goes, I guess, into the sanctuary, and I had already promised myself the next time he said something crazy to me, I was going to try my best to knock him out. So what I do, I ball up my fist and I turn around or something. I get ready to swing. Only thing is, one of the church members are coming out of the sanctuary, so I would have hit her. So I go downstairs, grab my coat and everything, and so we end up outside. And the whole time outside, he keeps on threatening me, keeps on telling me, I'm going to fire your ass up. I'm going to fire your ass up. I'm going to light your ass up. And then, so I'm getting more pissed off and everything because of the way how he's talking to me. And so what I do is something, I swing on him. And then, one of the ministers comes out of the church and tries to stand in between us. And, he's up there saying, oh man, I know he didn't just try to swing. I just know he just didn't try to swing. I said, oh yeah, I did try to swing. And then the minister like, no, he ain't trying to swing. He ain't trying to swing. And he tries to separate us or, whatever. And then, he keeps on trying to get around the minister to try to get to me. And then, one of the girls, I don't know what she saw that I did not see, but one of the girls told me, be careful because he has a gun. And quite frankly, I believe it. Because somebody like him who believes in abusing and bullying women, will never stand up to a man. But also, too, like I said, even in the first video, I've heard certain stories about him, about how he might have been, hurt and taken advantage of when he was younger, in different ways. It was a whole lot different than the way I was taken advantage of. But, he went through his share of stuff. And I guess whenever you go through your share of stuff, especially from a young child, yeah, I mean, it might affect you. I can understand that. But yet, at the end of the day, it's a choice. It's a choice whether this man is going to abuse others just because he is abused. Because it's no way, even though I can understand it all day long, how if a person is abused, how they might, want to lash out. And how sometimes even, as far as like drinking and everything goes, how some people when they're abused and go through hard childhoods or whatever, they, get hooked on alcohol, they get hooked on drugs and all of this other kind of stuff because they're looking for a way to escape, because in their life, in their reality, they see no way out because they get on this alcohol and get on this drug because this stuff actually makes them feel like Superman. Why? Because they feel like they have no way out to deal with some of the stuff that they have gone through. But at the end of the day, it's still a choice. Just because you have been abused does not ever give you the right to go and abuse other people. It doesn't give you the right to do anything like that. It's a choice. And just like, this gang in New York killed this boy all over mistaken identity, all because of a so-called sex tape over the internet. It's a choice. Whether they should have picked up that machete or not. It's a choice. For some of you all who, might be even killers and all of this other kind of stuff, and many people who don't talk things out, but yet want to go and grab a gun and act out of your feelings and act out of your emotions. It's a choice. For some of you all who go on the internet and I'm talking about bad behavior now, post videos of people fighting over the internet, hoping that it could probably be good enough to make world star hip hop. And anytime you see a fight video on YouTube or a fight video on Facebook, you can have two girls fighting, two guys fighting. Some idiot always wants to yell out, "World Star!" It's a choice. All of the killing that takes place in Chicago, all of the killing that has taken place, and even some of the killing that could take place over the holiday, in this holiday weekend, it's a choice. Whether you steal or not, or whether, even some of you ministers and pastors out there who could even be watching me, who choose not to preach the whole word and the whole counsel of God. Some of you preachers who choose to lie about money and lie about tithes and set up these offering lines and all of this kind of stuff that you are doing to collect money and tithes and offering that's not even biblical. It's a choice. And I know that this is a hard word, and I can understand this is a hard video, but it has to be said because a whole lot of people are not getting this over the pulpits of America. Because all the stuff I'm telling you right now, Joel Osteen's not going to tell you any of this. T.D. Jakes is not going to tell you any of this. Creflo Dollar is not going to tell you any of this. Only thing that they're concerned about is earning much more money and lying and driving you out of your tithes and offering and your money. Why? So they can buy a bigger home, wear more fancier suits, and drive a faster, more expensive Rolls Royce. It's a choice. it's a choice. Drug abuse, it's a choice. Drunkenness, it's a choice. Murder, it's a choice. Homosexuality, it's a choice. Because I also did this video, and I'm about to play you this clip. Because I feel, homosexuality, when it comes down to that, it's a choice. It's a sexual preference. That's all it is. But it seems like, people want to say that, church people or people who could be against this lifestyle are being mean. If you're against it, or, say publicly that you're against it, you get accused of being mean, you get accused of being homophobic, you get accused of being judgmental. And if you're a high figure, or if you're a public figure, should I say, it's a chance that depending on your stance on LGBT issues, you could lose your job. It's like, the LGBT community does not want to be judged, but yet, they want to rain down the judgment, or be against people for, feeling a certain way. So, some of them are judging us for feeling a certain way. They're judging people just because, some of us, might say that we feel that marriage, whenever we read the Bible, is in between one man and one woman. It says in Scripture, for this reason shall a man leave his mother and father and leave and cleave unto his wife. It didn't say his man. It didn't say for a woman, her woman. It said his wife. So I'm about to play for you this clip of a man named Kelvin Cochran, who was the former fire chief of Atlanta. And he was fired from the fire department all because this is something he did on a project he did on his own personal time. He put, I guess, in a book or a pamphlet, his personal feelings about marriage and how marriage is supposed to be in between a man and a woman. But he was fired just for feeling this way. And I feel that this is wrong. And I feel that this, kind of thing needs to stop within this country. So let me play you this clip. I'm going to dry off my face because it's getting hot. And I'm going to come back with the rest of this video, and then we're going to wrap it up and we're going to take it home. Stay tuned for the clip.
In January of 2015, I was fired from my job as fire chief of Atlanta because I expressed my faith in a book written on my own private time for a Christian men's Bible study. My name is Kelvin Cochran. When I was growing up in Shreveport, the grown-ups asked us all the time, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" My answers were always the same. I told them I didn't want to be poor because it seems we were always poor. I told them I wanted a family because my dad left my mother. And I told them that I wanted to be a firefighter. I was one of the first African-American firefighters in the Shreveport Fire Department. At that time, there was a designated bed for black firefighters, as well as designated forks, spoons, and plates, so no one would have to share with the black firefighters. I also faced a steady stream of racial slurs and negative attitudes because of the color of my skin. That gave me a conviction that should I ever be in a position of leadership, I would never allow someone to have the same experience of discrimination as I did as a minority. After serving as fire chief in Shreveport, I was appointed fire chief in Atlanta. Then President Obama appointed me to the highest fire official position in America, the United States Fire Administrator. I was unanimously confirmed by a bipartisan congressional committee. I served under President Obama. then was recruited back to the city of Atlanta, where I served faithfully for 5 years. While back in Atlanta, I was nationally recognized as Fire Chief of the Year in 2012 by Fire Chief magazine. I appointed a diverse committee to create the Atlanta Fire Rescue Doctrine to establish a culture of justice and equity for the department. The committee was comprised of representatives from all walks of life, including those who identified as LGBTQ. The purpose of the Atlanta Fire Rescue Doctrine was to eliminate all isms, racism, sexism, favoritism, cronyism, anything that would interfere with a wholesome work environment for any people group within the fire department. However, much to my surprise, in late 2014, my 34-year career came to an abrupt halt. I had written a book for a Christian men's Bible study on my own private time that encouraged men to be the best men they could be, and that all things were possible through Christ. However, an Atlanta city official took issue with a few paragraphs of my book where I briefly discussed the biblical view of marriage and sexuality. The city proceeded to suspend me without pay and conducted an investigation. At the conclusion of the investigation, they concluded I had never discriminated against anyone. Despite this, the city fired me. Given my history and work, I was shocked that writing a book encouraging Christian men to be the husbands and fathers that God has called us to be would jeopardize my job. It is still unthinkable to me that the very faith and patriotism that inspired my professional achievements and drove me to treat all people with love and equity is what the government ultimately used to bring my childhood dream come true to an end. In America, true tolerance should be a two-way street. Foundational to the American dream is faith and patriotism. If you remove the faith component, it is questionable whether the American dream can be fulfilled.
Okay, we are back. I hope that you enjoyed that brief clip, and that falls under the category of fair use. Okay, you heard that story of Calvin Cochran, who was fired because he wrote a biblical example about, marriage. How marriage is one man, one woman. And, he was a part of a Bible study group for men. But it just seems like these days that, you can't express your faith or anything like that. But at the end of the day, like I said, any kind of bad behavior, biblical or unbiblical, it's all a choice. Because it even says in Scripture, in the book of Galatians chapter 5, I believe it's beginning at verse 19, where it talks about the sins of the flesh. And it talks about, people who do certain things that are choices and that are sins. It says that people who are like fornicators, adulterers, idolaters, uncleanliness, drunkards, riotous, people who envy, people who lie, effeminate, people who commit heresies, murderers, and people who bear false witness. He says that I have told you in time past, just like I'm telling you now, that people who live this way will not inherit the kingdom of God. And such were, past tense, such were some of you. But now you're washed and you're holy and you're sanctified by the Spirit of our God. And it also talks about taking off these things of the spirit of the flesh and putting on the fruits of the Spirit. And while you all were watching this clip, I got my little trusty smartphone here, and I am going to tell you about give you the 9 attributes, if I may, of the fruits of the Spirit. Okay? Just bear with me, and something just takes me some time to try to find. And, instead of the sins of the sins of the flesh, which I named some of them, no, it says to put on love, joy, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That means that no matter what kind of situation you're in, you can control yourself. It's a choice. It's one of the fruits of the Spirit. The other kind of stuff, if you don't repent of it or don't walk in your deliverance, could, possibly get you sent to hell. Because it says that if you behave in certain ways, that, you're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. But the stuff that I just named of the fruits of the Spirit, this is what is going to get you in. This one is what's going to get you into heaven. I really believe. If you have these 9 attributes, which are the fruits of the Spirit, and self-control being one of the main ones. So it goes to show you that if you can't control yourself, then you don't have one of the fruits of the Spirit. At the end of the day, it's all a choice. All bad behavior, it's a choice. I don't care what you have done. I don't care what you have been through. At the end of the day, pray. Ask God for deliverance. Walk in your deliverance. And even make an attempt to walk in your deliverance. Like I attempt to walk this thing out every single day if I can, despite what has happened to me. Because only thing I want, I want it to, for me, I know some of the stuff that I have gone through before. Just like some of the stuff that some of you all have gone through before could have been bad. I'm not there trying to take it away. And just like, the man in question who I talked about who goes to church drunk, some of the stuff that he went through was bad. But you have to remember, every single moment, every single day, we choose to, stay. We choose to walk out our deliverance. Because no matter what you went through, it's supposed to be greater later. I want to have my best life now, despite of everything. I want to, just live, be happy. I want to walk and be able to go like wherever, I want to go. I even want to, go to church, worship God, and, want to have a nice job and a nice home and everything one day, and want to even find the right kind of woman, someone who will love me and accept me and embrace me, despite what I've gone through and all of my shortcomings. And, I think that would be a beautiful thing. But, at the end of the day, it's a choice, for us to walk these things out, especially when we know something is wrong. So, that is my challenge to all of you today, is that despite what has gone on, and despite what you have gone through, that it's still a choice for you to do better and have a much better life on today, better than you had on yesterday. So with that, I am going to end this video. If anybody likes this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. And I know that this was a hard word, that this was a hard video, and please, I did not ever mean to hurt or offend anybody in this video, but it's the truth at the end of the day, and the truth had to be told. And I thank you for staying with me through this video, and I thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I thank you most of all for allowing me to come into your home, or a place of business, wherever you are, whatever you happen to be doing. And thank you for allowing me to be transparent a little bit about my past and my life on today. Thank you very much. Love you forever. And hopefully I will see everybody in the next video. Truly, I have to say, peace and blessings to all. I'll see everybody in the next video. Until next time.